welcome to the third episode of our Campfire chat. We are going to be here to discuss the stories so far with a few of the people that have helped make those stories come together. We're going to be talking about lots of things that have happened over the last few months. It has been a while since we've done our last Campfire chat, and a lot has happened, a lot of things have changed. But I'm going to introduce you to everyone who is here right now. We are joined by the one and only Apollo Alovich. Okay, we're just going with voices straight away, are we? Yeah, we're joined by Apollo Alovich. We're joined by Evelyn Sanderson. The enthusiasm is unparalleled. I know, yeah, it's palpable. We are also joined by Miss Molly Bird. I'm sorry, you want a better one? The one, the only, the perv of the state. It is Miss Molly Bird. Is that better? Okay, well, that's that. And myself, John Gallows. We're going to be discussing everything that's been going on. And there has been a lot. There has been a lot going on. Oh, guys. Yeah, like, things have changed since the last one. I think you can. I think you can hear us. There you go. Listen, all right. Listen, it's been a long day. I've been farming a long time, making this. You can hear everyone now, but you didn't. They hadn't said anything. They're here. You know, you don't need to listen to them, but it's okay. They can hear you now. All right. So we have been through a lot. We're going to be breaking all that down. We're going to be starting actually with Miss Evelyn Sanderson. She is boy, you have had you've had a time.
That's one way to put it.
Is that the sigh that we're going with? So for people who obviously do know, but don't know, I guess, Evelyn has now found herself abandoned by chance and left to fend on their own and find their way in the state. And that has been horrific to watch at times. I'm sure horrific to play. But yeah, I suppose the first question to really start with, because I think it is coming to more of a happier place now for Evelyn, like with the stuff that's starting to brew. How difficult was it to play Evelyn in that mental state right back when you came back to state? Was it difficult?
Holy shit, yeah. Especially since there were other things going on that sort of paralleled what was going on that I can't really get into.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was rough. I mean, she had this whole life and he was who she spent all of her time with. And then all of a sudden he's gone completely. No sign of him whatsoever.
Yeah. Man, it was that first, I'd say couple of weeks, but those first few days back in state, seeing Evelyn that way was difficult. And not really knowing how to approach it. It must have been similar for you, because you just can't be happy at that stage, you know?
Yeah, there was no happy.
Well, this is going to be a nice, light-hearted conversation, guys.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I mean, you were the one that put this first.
I mean, I think you have to, because I think Evelyn is obviously a big part of all of the characters that are in this at the moment. Cosmo might be joining us later as well, so to talk about crackhead Cosmo. But was coming back and having a new dynamic. Obviously, it'd been Evelyn and Chance as this power double together, that they kind of just did their own thing. But it was always it was Evelyn and Chance. It wasn't Evelyn or Chance. It was the two of them, and it just being Evelyn. Did you have to change Evelyn a lot, their mentality, or was there a lot of change that you subconsciously did with Evelyn coming back, saying, okay, this is more the direction they would go? Or was it more
I
natural?
didn't know what direction she was going to go. I really didn't.
That makes sense. It was it was interesting, I think, because I remember John was probably one of the first people you saw when you came back. I think, because we rode past each other.
Yeah, Apollo was the first she saw.
Oh, yes,
First
sorry.
talk,
Apollo was the
but-
first person. Yeah.
But yeah, it's. I don't even know where to go.
Yeah, it was hard. The those first few that I remember John and Evelyn having that conversation outside the. I can't remember whose house it turned out to be, but which was going to be Evelyn and Abilene's. Having that conversation, sat trying to like just talk through it all the best they could, and not really knowing what to say.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just Evelyn that he abandoned either. So.
No, true. It was a lot of people, but obviously Evelyn was going to be the one that took it the worst, or the hardest, I guess, for understandable reasons, because obviously you were so close to the wedding, as well. That was really close.
5 days.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Don't be getting ideas, Molly, may I point out, but yeah. Wow, that last reassuring. The when did you start to? Was there a noticeable thing that happened in the state that kind of started to push Evelyn forward instead of? Because I know Evelyn still looks back, and if you don't know, Evelyn has a journal that's really well written. That is you write in pretty much every day, if not every day. I don't think you've missed many.
Try to do every day, but
Yeah.
there's no one thing. It's just been a slow, gradual progression.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just have one thing that's, oh, now everything is all better, because it's not.
No, but I think sometimes you can have a turning point, like where it's like, okay, this is where that upward climb started, but it's you don't have to have that either. Like, it can just be one day you look back and you're like, oh, okay, that's the thing now. But I'm sorry about that. But yeah, no, I think with the Evelyn, what's really interesting now is they are quite, how to put it? They seem to have a path, but at the same time, there's still that element of lost in them. Does that make sense? Is that probably fair?
Yeah, it is. I mean, she's trying to find something, some purpose, some reason, and trying to find where she fits in everything without Chance around, without what was supposed to be her purpose in her life. So.
Yeah. And I think on a happier note, though, I think on a happier note with Evelyn, I think the last few weeks we have seen that a confidence in Evelyn start to appear. Like the vault, for example, which we'll talk about a little later, but the last vault where they stayed inside for the whole time, and I know there was catalysts for that within like Miriam and Apollo and such, but
Yep.
that was a big thing for Evelyn to spend the whole night inside and not feel
really was.
totally overwhelmed.
It really was.
Which is nice to see. And obviously you've got the like, obviously it's been said in state, so it's no secret because we've talked about it on stream. Like the interview for the DOP, which will be a really cool character arc for Evelyn, and to be around Apollo and Argue as well, which is always a lot.
I'm
of
really
fun.
excited to watch that. Definitely.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
That is chaos. There's going to be a lot of nose pinching going on there.
Maybe not. She doesn't do it so much when it's them.
Oh, great. Just John then. Just John gets the nose pinch. That's nice to know. Apollo, are you there?
I am, yes.
What's
I'm keeping myself-
Apollo's thoughts on Evelyn going down the route of the DOP? Is he excited for that prospect of having Evelyn there? Is he concerned because of the danger of the DOP?
It is a little bit of both. The thing about her joining the DOP is this is something that Apollo very much endorses. However, he realizes that at the same time she is going to be confronted with several challenges, which does worry him. But the thing is that in Apollo's mind, you're going to be faced with challenges either way, no matter where you are.
Yeah.
And something that Apollo is very much aware of is how Evelyn feels in regards to a lot of things. So her having the ability to have something to do, to interact with people, and to stay close to Apollo and Agwe, which seems to be the two people, or one of four people who are close to her right now, is good. In Apollo's mind, anyway.
Yeah, because
Can I ask the question that everyone wants to know?
Mm.
After John, you've said what you want to say.
I was just about to lead into what you were going to ask anyway. So
Really?
Yeah,
You want
no,
you want to
no.
ask it then?
No,
It's
no,
your
this
it's,
is-
it's your
not
show.
it's not my show at all. It's, I just keep it on track. Go.
No,
please.
I'm gonna shut up.
No, go.
You
What is
please.
the question that
Well,
everyone?
Can you guess?
No.
What is going on with Apollo and Evelyn? I'm guessing is the question that Molly is wanting
Yes.
to ask. Because there's very much
Spill. We want the gossip.
yeah, there's very much, for people that don't know, a lot of this comes out more in the journals.
Will they? Won't they?
It's a subtlety that is in state a little bit, but Evelyn has been drawn closer to Apollo, but she doesn't know what that is, and Apollo has always been close with Evelyn and plays his cards very close to his chest. We also have the Maz situation that is kind of just off to the side of there's another will they, won't they, is there anything there? Probably not, maybe there is. Whole shit show going on there. Like it's not a shit show, that's the wrong term, but mess. So yeah, where I'm gonna come to Apollo first for this, because I think
oh, hi.
in Apollo's mind, what's the scoop? Tells the goss. What's the happy hap?
Okay, so in Apollo's mind... Oh, that's my hat. In Apollo's mind, Evelyn is still very much a friend, but a friend that is in a horrible position. He knows that she feels like she is a burden, and that she feels as though she is clinging to him. Now, he has... In short, he does not view Evelyn in a romantic light. He views her more so as somebody who is his best friend, if not one of his best friends. And the reason why I say one of his best friends is primarily because he has a lot of people he gets along well with, but there's also the people who he spends most time with and gets along in such a way that he considers them a best friend. Evelyn is one of those people. And looking in the chat, Bob, I'm actually going to touch on one of these because hugging and kissing is not something that happens. Well, hugging, but, flirting. Apollo has not been flirtatious with Evelyn at all because he does not want to get any wires crossed. He doesn't want the lines to blur. He doesn't do stuff that can be misconstrued for flirting. Comforting, yes, he will hug her and he will tell her that it's all right, but other than that, no.
Interesting.
He views her, he views her in very much a friend light.
And is he conscious about that? Does he do that consciously, or is that like an unconscious thing?
It is very much a conscious thing he does.
What, the not flirting or the flirting?
Oh no, the not flirting is unconscious because he doesn't think about it. He doesn't so much as
doesn't
even so much as cross his mind.
Yeah, that's what
He
I was
doesn't-
kind of. Does he like actively be like, this could be construed as flirting? I'm not going to do that in his brain.
It naturally, it doesn't come to him because Apollo is terrible with flirting.
Lies.
Yeah, lies. We will touch on that later. Thank you very much.
Oh dear.
Evelyn.
Uh-huh.
Evelyn's views on the situation?
She doesn't really see Apollo in a romantic light or anything like that. It's just he's such a close friend, and he's been there for her in ways that she's needed.
Yeah.
And it's all really confused in her head right now. So
Mm.
I'm gonna barge in here with a quick anecdote.
Go on.
I think it mentions in one of her, it mentions in her journal, and this was canonically decided between me and Kalia, that at 4 o'clock in the morning, Eveline would come to Apollo's apartment, knock on his door, and ask to crash on his sofa after asking for a hug.
That really.
Yeah, I read that. Yeah.
And Apollo just went, yeah, all right, sure, all right. And then probably went back
Yeah.
to bed after giving her a blanket.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Sorry, hang on.
Anyway,
Where did
man
you
is
go?
Sorry, I'm back.
I went to go get food.
No. It's just started torrential raining, and my bedroom window was open. So.
Oh shit.
oops.
I'm good. I'm back.
Hooray.
All right. Is there any other questions for Eveline and their sort of situation that's been going on, or before I move on?
I have a question.
Go.
Why do you think it's gonna go right for the poor woman?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, they are starting to, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a slow process.
But, yeah. I think Evelyne's
dear.
doing a lot better.
Yeah, she is. She absolutely is. And
Then-
she's had
yeah.
to sort of claw her way there, but
In part thanks to wine, food, Apollo, and Miriam.
yeah.
Wow, all right. Me and Molly just go fuck ourselves, shall we? Jesus Christ, we try hard.
John and Molly have been kind of caught up in their own stuff.
John makes time for Eveline. All right, no, you know what? We're gonna have this out. Like,
Oh God, Sean, please.
no, John has included Eveline in everything. Like, and even when John was going out of state, like he came back for Eveline. Then even for after the proposal, when John and Molly were gonna take a day away, he asked Eveline to help with the setup. He meets Eveline whenever I can, work wise, during the day. Like, he is always got Eveline there. Like, I will not have this blasphemy on this stage right
I
here.
am sorry. I did not mean it. I'm sorry.
Like that.
And my final word on this is, like, you know, like, John has tries very hard.
He
has.
has. He has.
I am sorry.
So I'm just
Oh, you're right. He has.
like, yeah, thank you. That's all I wanted. Just to put that on the
So
record,
much-
please, chat.
Are you
So much pent up
okay?
rage. So much pent up
Sorry.
rage.
Yeah,
It was- Oh,
Right.
you're okay. I'm sorry.
I'm okay. I'm
Just
gonna
making
move
sure
on.
you're okay.
Well,
Okay.
speaking of John and Molly, we should move on to them next. So
Hooray.
Yeah.
Oh really? Are we doing them next? I
no,
thought
they're
we were,
next. No, it's not in the
lower
order that they're
down.
written down. Like,
Ooh, that's pretty.
it's just
Oh my
generic.
God. That is
Ooh.
that is
pretty.
terrifying.
Well, you said yes.
Oh God.
Wait.
What you have to look forward to.
Oh Lord.
What do you mean? Oh Lord! Why don't you just?
All right, so who's gonna go first?
1 second, we might have someone joining us.
Oh.
Who is?
Eveline, can you give Flo access to this, please?
Yes, again.
Ah,
Florence.
Flo.
Flo is going to join us because
Alright.
Flo's been a part of this as well. So, hey, Flo.
It's
Flo.
Shay.
Oh.
Hello.
Flo.
Everybody, this is Flo. Flo
Hi.
is one of the nicest characters in the state, the unluckiest. But,
Agreed.
I love Flo.
Three times boxing knockout champion, huh?
oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God. She's won one boxing match and she knocked my man's teeth out for calling her sweetheart.
Hey,
Love it.
it's deserved.
Yeah.
It's all right, darling. Okay. So yeah, Molly and John, which Flo's been a part of as well. Flo was the first person that John told that he was going to propose to Molly. And it was the very first time he said it out loud, and that was terrifying. But
Aw.
Flo's reaction warmed
I
my
love it.
my
I love
heart.
it.
Like,
That was. I did after I watched it. I messaged him saying that was me out of character. Exactly how Flo was in character. It was really funny.
Yeah, she was he was like, pull it together, and it's just like, I
I
can't.
was like, she's downstairs. Like, get up.
Well, don't tell me when she's downstairs.
Well, I only had a few days to plan because John does John things, and yeah, so, and I knew Molly would start snooping if it went longer, so, which they did
ruining
anyway.
her own engagement.
That's such a Molly thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, we had to scramble, but that's a little bit ahead. I suppose we go back because the last time we had one of these, John and Molly weren't officially anything. They were still finding their feet. Because yeah, it was a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
Because if you remember, like John and, well, you probably do, maybe you don't. John and Molly had a conversation there riding back from the mother tree, and John's saying, "What do we call ourselves?" And the joke that they were a partnership. John and Molly never called themselves a couple.
No.
Then said they loved each other. Then got engaged. There was no middle ground. There was never a part where they were partners of any sort. It was just, we are what we are. We love each other. Now we're engaged. So they took a very unique path to get where they were. But I guess it's really difficult for me to ask questions on this because we talk about it quite a lot. But for everybody else, why did the Danny Lynch stuff, which we will get onto the Danny Lynch stuff in its own section, so why did that trigger Molly to say that she loved John? What was the catalyst in that moment for her to finally be able to say it?
Well, I don't think it was. I think that was the very, very final bit, but I think it had been building before that. And actually, the main thing that I can remember was the cougar attack. I think it started with the wolves.
When you absolutely shot John?
Yeah, I did absolutely shoot John. Yeah, it started with the wolves ages ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, but that was he almost died. That was kind of a traumatic experience, and she kind of went a bit strange after that. I don't know whether you remember.
No, I remember.
Yeah. But yeah, with the cougar attack, I think that kind of, I don't know. I just remember that being kind of when she kind of thought to herself, actually, this is more serious than I thought, or that I'd actually kind of admitted to myself. And then the Danny Lynch stuff, I think that was that kind of that forced her to say something, because I don't think she would have said something otherwise. And that whole day she was just all over the place.
Oh, that was a bad day.
Yeah, for so many different reasons. Yeah, she was just kind of in a very kind of weird place. Yeah.
Because Molly didn't hear John's first time, did she?
No, I didn't hear it. In game, so Molly didn't hear it. No, but I watched it back.
But then he said it again outside the house when they're having a heated discussion. When I thought you were ignoring John, I thought you'd walked past him, but you just muted your mic and hadn't said anything.
Yeah, I know. She was so close to saying it then, and I think that's also the other. Yeah, the other kind of thing was that she was really annoyed that she didn't say it then. So that's why she said it later. Yeah, that was a great scene. That bit in the rain outside the house.
Yeah, I really love
that. That was like their first kind of only sort of proper kind of when they really got angry with each other. Well, not angry, but like there hadn't really been any sort of.
Well, there's only two times. Yeah, there's only when Molly chose Maverick. That conversation when she was shouting at him for going after Danny Lynch originally, and John kind of stood up for himself and didn't let her walk away. Was like, no, if you're gonna do this, you tell me to my face and you do it now. So it kind of mirrored that, but with a more positive outcome.
Yeah.
But Evelyn, obviously, smug as anything during all of this, because Evelyn had said from day one that something would happen.
Told you so.
I remember. I'll tell you something. I remember watching that stream. I remember logging off, and the only reason I watched, I think it was John's stream, the only reason I watched it was because I wanted to see what the party was like. Because obviously I didn't go. I literally just I left you at Emerald and I logged off, and I wanted to see what happened at the event. I did not watch the event. I skimmed through it, but I got up to the point where I left, and then instantly Evelyn could turn around and goes, "She likes you," and I was like, "Hang on, what?"
Do I?
and that whole conversation. Well, I think it was. Well, I've kind of explained this to John in a way, is that Molly, she didn't realize it herself, but she does that thing that women sometimes do, where she obviously felt something about John, whether it was kind of physical attractiveness or whether she thought he was mysterious, which I think she did think he was a bit mysterious, and so she was kind of more drawn to him in conversation. I feel like she didn't consciously know that she was doing that, but obviously Evelyn saw that she was doing that, which I thought was really funny. So I love that conversation. I watched it about 8 times. We're probably the clip that I watched most out of any kind of thing in Wild West RP. I love that conversation.
Because John was oblivious. John was so in denial about
I know,
it. Like
it was great.
no. Like, because Molly was so confident and obviously such a good character. John, and myself through John, I guess, just was like, well, no, there were so many better people. So it's just like, no, you're being an idiot.
I'm in denial, mate.
What was the line? What was the line? It was, I can't, can you see me with some, what was it? Like, I can't remember what you called
remember.
Molly. It was like, it was posh something.
Like prim and proper or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, could you
stuffy English woman,
English woman, yeah.
Stuffy.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, rejected.
Yeah, well, it all came around. Like, I guess then, yeah, I guess there's a few moments that were, I guess, private for John and Molly. Like, a lot of the trips away have been really instrumental in their growth, which have been really, really cool to role play them out, especially the last one, the longer period one. Which was a nightmare time-wise for me because I was living 3 different timelines, letters, real life, and that, like, my God, like that was fun. But I
mean, to be fair, I think I was away from state for 3 weeks. And I think we only got to like day 3 in our text RP.
Yeah, it took so long. Like, well, you'd been away a week and we hadn't left.
Yeah,
so, yeah,
so true.
So it was a whole thing. But John,
Just
I
hiding
guess,
more of the bullshit in the house.
basically, John gave obviously Molly the necklace, which I think was a moment for John because it was probably his first like expensive gift, like, and designing that and everything was. And
have you got the
the
screenshot you can drop in the
I have it. I'll have it somewhere. Yeah, absolutely. I might have to find it in a little bit once we're.
because I mean. You don't see it in game, obviously, because I mean she now has a blue necklace which John bought for her, but this was the one that theoretically he bought for her the first time, and the one she always wears. And sometimes you'll see /me like fiddles with necklace or something whenever she's like nervous or bored or something.
Yeah, it was a. Let me try and find it. It's just called Molly's necklace somewhere.
Did you lose her necklace?
No, I lost the image. It's somewhere in my files, and I can't remember where I saved it. I saved it somewhere special.
You lost her necklace.
And then
That's
I
a
forget where I
yes.
saved it. No, I can find it. Just
It's
there.
Cosmo playing Wild West RP.
Yeah, they were supposed to be in here, but they've gone back in there, so they're not going to be in this, I imagine. So we won't be talking about the last section. But then, while I find this, like, we have to talk about the engagement a little bit. Sorry, when you saw, because you saw Evelyn's journal, which made you watch back the stream. Because you don't really watch John's stream of the vault because they're both there. And
Well, no, I do. I think that, so. I read Evelyn's journal and I thought, oh, that's interesting. I think that made me go back and look for something. But I probably would have skimmed through it anyway, and I don't know whether I would have just come across it by chance or not. But yeah, I think Evelyn's journal kind of signposted that there was something juicy in there somewhere.
Sorry.
And well, no, I mean it was completely my fault because as soon as I watched it, I thought, damn, I should not have watched that.
'Cause you didn't tell
but-
me you'd seen it.
No, because I didn't want to spoil it for everyone, and part of me did think, part of me was glad that I'd at least knew it was coming because then I could separate my out of character and in character reactions more than maybe I would do if it was a complete surprise. Because I feel like I'd be super excited out of character and then I'd have to kind of be in character as well. So in a way, I thought it'd be better if I knew, but turns out I was surprised anyway, so it didn't really matter.
There's Molly's pendant in the thing, and it doesn't look. I had to make that, so it's a few different images photoshopped into it. But
That is really pretty, actually.
so it's a phoenix. Obviously, that's a big part of John and Molly. Well, Molly to John, and then it has the ruby as the plume, and then it's got an engraving on the back. But so so then you found out the original plan for the engagement, but obviously me being me was like, well, no, I still want that surprise.
Determined the surprise.
I want that surprise reaction. So you didn't.
I should have just
click.
not told me.
Yeah, you didn't click on the day, right? You said
No.
even till
I
when
was
you got on the rock, you were still a bit oblivious.
I was a complete sucker. 100% hook, line, and sinker. No, even when I saw that, the trail of rose petals lead up the path, I remember thinking, well, that's strange. Who would leave that there? Literally, I had no idea. And then it got to the top, and I could hear you breathing through your mic, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, I was nervous. It's a hard thing to do, man. Like, it's a hard thing to do.
I know what's coming now.
Yeah.
I had to watch it back because in the moment, I genuinely didn't hear some of it because I was just like
Just hearing like
surprised
boom, boom,
and
boom, boom.
yeah, no, exactly, yeah,
Such a
terrifying.
the engagement the proposal was really good, but that conversation that they had.
Oh god, I still haven't watched it back. I still can't bring myself to watch it back.
I've watched it a few times, and it brings me to tears every time. Like, it is so
I can't
good,
watch it.
so good. Like I was talking to Evelyn and Apollo about it earlier, with Cosmo, about because I said there's an interesting parallel with Cosmo and some of the stuff that was said, but Cosmo's not here to really talk about that. But to hear. Not so much the first stuff, like the torture stuff is such an interesting thing, but to be honest, John already suspected something similar when the stuff that Molly has told John, and she said there's still stuff she doesn't know if he could hear. It could only really go to one place. The extent of it was what took him back, but not the substance, because he's been in that low place. Maybe not as low as Molly, but he has been when he lost everything, and he couldn't talk. I know the people he goes after are bad, but he actively enjoys hunting them, and so he understands the logic there. But the second conversation about all of that, which I don't want to say on stream because people would have to go watch it if they want to.
That was like to me, when I was thinking about how to reveal different parts of Molly's backstory, that is like the center of the onion. Like no one really knows that apart from John at all, and maybe one other person, but they're not there anymore. So yeah, that was like that was always going to be so tough for her to say. But I feel like, I always knew that if it came to proposal or marriage, she would feel like she would have to tell him about that.
Shit.
It was like a beautiful moment. The just having Molly show that side of Molly, of them thinking that it would be a reason why John would walk away, and kind of saying that you need to know this, and I'll be okay if you don't want to be with me anymore. Like, and then
Because I think that was, I mean, Jamie's death was like 80% of what broke her, but I think that was
the
that was
final,
the
yeah.
last thing, and she still carries that even now, which is what came through. That pain is still quite raw, I
Yeah.
think.
And John's thought process on that, which I can kind of share a little bit now, was obviously he was more heartbroken for Molly, but he doubted it. Like Molly said something in that sentence about how good a father John would be, which is really ironic because of what he was saying to Evelyn and Apollo, out of character, but when Cosmo was here, that he couldn't save Cosmo when he thought he could, so he's doubted for a long time if he could be a good father, because he couldn't get Cosmo to listen. He couldn't save them, so he had doubted for a while, and he's never really had the idea of children or anything like that on his radar, because he never expected to get married or anything. He never expected to find love, because John carries a level of confidence, but I think Molly sees more of it. He's very insecure about himself, that he doesn't think he's worth much. So, which ties into the Maz conversation a little bit, which was a really interesting.
I love that whole night. That was a great night.
No, that was tasty, but
It was.
For all sorts of reasons, because I feel like everyone, because it was Mars, Apollo, Evelyn, me, and you, wasn't it? And I feel like
Henrietta was there for a little while, but yeah, they left.
Yeah, but then I feel like everyone in that conversation felt really differently, and it affected them profoundly in different ways. Like Molly came away from that conversation really upset.
Yeah.
John also got really angry. I feel like it affected Evelyn and Apollo as well.
Well,
and
Apollo
obviously
got very
Mars
angry. He started
quite
shooting.
angry.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was great.
Yeah, Evelyn went to a journal and wrote quite a big thing about it the next day. Like, it was really interesting, especially because at that point, I knew that I was going to have John propose. So, and there's basically Maz there saying that if they're not from value, then what use are they? Almost, that's how John's, and John doesn't come from value, but he was at a point where he's like, but I can be of use. Like, you know, he was very much like, and he knows that Maz used to, and maybe not so much now, maybe still does have a lot of control over Molly. So he didn't want that to be.
Molly definitely changes when Mars is around.
Yeah, they become much more introverted. Like, and much more guard up a little bit. Like, and John notices that John did not want to go to Maz's house. Well, he was rolling. John was rolling because the Apollo and Maz were having such a long conversation that was about nothing. John was rolling. If he got like another low roll, he was just gonna leave, because he was just listening to them two have really nice small talk between themselves. But John was livid at Maz at that point, and he was just like, "I don't want small talk. Why everyone is we're stood under here. It's raining. It's cramped. Nobody actually is happy in this current situation. There's an awkwardness, and why am I here when me and Molly can go off and do our own thing?" So he just rolled, and then we went and had, and it was nice at the house doing the devil's dice. It kind of came around a little bit, but
for the most part, he was on edge the whole time.
He doesn't like Maz anyway, like because he sees how he it's not that he doesn't like her. That's probably too extreme. But he sees how Molly is with Maz, and he doesn't like how Maz makes Molly, because he sees Molly kind of become a shell of herself a little bit, and nobody in the world should make you feel that way. But he thinks that Maz thinks her opinion is too strong on a lot of things, and doesn't like people going up against her. So he doesn't really enjoy their company. But he also knows that he has to respect them because they're a big part of Molly's life. So, hence why he invited her to the engagement party, and is always pleasant with her when she sees him. But
he's cordial.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's cordial out of respect for Molly. Because if Molly wasn't a thing, he would have no intention of ever speaking to Maz, unless Apollo and Maz became a thing at any point, which we'll talk about that in Apollo the Bachelor, which is coming up. But
No worries. I'm just enjoying listening to this.
he's just doesn't. They don't have a lot in common. Their beliefs are very different, and they've never had a good conversation together. He was basically put on trial the first time he was in the house while Molly stood in the corner, like timid,
That
and
was
was
hilarious.
basically told what was wrong, what was good about him, and wrong about him, and like he was
Oh,
a score
jeez.
sheet almost. And John felt like he was just at an auction house, especially because in that moment there was the whole Maverick stuff as well, and it was like he was being played off against them, and Maz was doing that, and John did not like that. Like, and he never forgot that. To the point where John was going to go to Maz before he proposed to Molly and tell her he was going to propose. And tell her the reasons why he was going to. Not out of spite, but just because out of a way of saying, like, listen, we agree differently, but one thing that is true throughout it all is that I want the best for Molly. And I think I am that now. So, and try and put the olive branch out there for to finally just let go of this ideology that she has and just be happy for Molly.
You can't see it, but I'm actually nodding my head.
I can imagine it. But yeah, so that was kind of the thought process there with that. And but apart from that, he hasn't really had to do much. He had to take a step back from Apollo. He had to work Apollo out. Was John's other thing, because like which was really interesting for him to do, because Apollo flirts a lot with Molly, but then Molly also flirts back. But Molly flirts with everybody, but I don't see Apollo flirt with a lot of people. But John sees Apollo flirt with Molly all the time, and it wasn't a jealousy thing, because John is not a jealous person. It was a respect thing, and he started to see it as Apollo disrespecting him, because he never did it with Ellie. Even though the relationship was different, he never flirted with Ellie at all. Apollo does it so openly, and but Molly is just as much to blame in that scenario, because Molly flirts with everybody. But
I actually have.
Yeah,
sorry,
Molly's
go on,
here being
finish
like,
your
"What's wrong?"
yeah, like, and John didn't get angry at it at any point, but it was starting to be, because it was there was a comment, and I can't remember when it was said.
It was at Guama, I think, wasn't it? Guama? Was it Guama? I remember you rolling for something.
Yeah,
night.
he's rolled a few times, and if he got a 1, and that's when John kind of went in on himself and didn't speak, and then he rolled again and it was high, so he didn't say anything. It's a total respect thing, but then he's kind of come through it now, and because he's never had anyone, he doesn't know what's right and wrong. Like, he doesn't think he shouldn't feel guilty because he trusts Molly like implicitly. Like, so it's not a jealousy thing, but he was starting to see it like a slap in the face by Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it was a thing that I think he said it under his breath, and I don't know if anyone picked up on it, when Apollo says every time, "You look wonderful, Molly," and John said something along the lines of 10 minutes. That's how long it took for Apollo to say it. And it was because every day it was like, hello, you look wonderful, Molly, or you look beautiful, Molly. So John was picking up on this and just going, all right, what's going on here? Like, where's this lack of respect coming from? But then he kind of came full circle.
It's not lack of respect.
I've
Molly's like, it's just nice.
no,
you know? He's
John
saying-
saw it that way, because John would never think of doing that to anybody's partner, because yeah. And
no, John wouldn't, whereas Molly does it all the time.
yeah, Molly, which was the thing that kind of turned it round, because he sees it with Sal, and
Oh yeah, Molly flirts outrageously with Sal all the time.
yeah,
And
I
Sal
was actually going to
Sal
say,
flirts with Molly all the time.
yeah, true, and that was kind of the saving grace, like in that
there
scenario.
is-
No, go on,
the
Apollo.
reason I was going to say, Molly is right in why Apollo says the things he does. He doesn't do it to tread on anybody's toes. He does it purely to be nice. But I can definitely see why John would feel disrespected. And another thing about it is that there's actually a reason why Apollo flirts with Molly, but he doesn't flirt with anybody else.
What is that?
Because Molly instigates it. and he parrots it back.
Yeah.
That's true.
Like, for instance,
It's because it's almost like a game, I feel. Like, I mean,
Because
this
it
is how Molly views flirting anyway. It's fun, it's a game. She's never going to act on anything. She just likes to part of her likes to provoke people like that. I mean, with Sal, it's so much fun because he just giggles and she loves that. So she will outrageously flirt with people just to get a reaction from them because she thinks it's fun and it's a game. Yeah.
But that was the saving grace. It was after the proposal and there was still the flirting with Sal and stuff like that. And it was like, why am I not bothered by it with Sal? But I was bothered by it with Apollo. And it was just John had to work out the rationale on it. And it was just like, it's because it's just done in different ways because Apollo's a different person to Sal and Sal is a dumb northerner. So it's kind of just like, whereas Apollo is an educated person, and it's just like, okay, Apollo has more airs and graces about him in a say, whereas Sal just thinks with his dick. So like, in the most loving way, like John loves Sal. He's his best friend in the state.
Are you saying Apollo's more of a threat than Sal?
No, not a threat. No. Don't put words. That Apollo should know better. Is what I was saying. Whereas,
that makes a lot of sense.
But he realized he can't judge two people differently just because of upbringing, because that's bad on. John hates that. So, and it was also a case of he saw how happy Apollo was when he got the news about John and Molly, and one of the people he wanted to tell first was Apollo, obviously Evelyn. Because he loves Apollo, like so. He put him at a distance, which Apollo started to notice.
He did. He most certainly did.
And it wasn't out of anger. It was out of, I need to work out how I am with this and if I can trust you like I think I can. And then he knew he could, and he just dropped those guards. And it was just John working out how to be, because he'd never been in that situation. He's never had anyone to protect like that. Or and now he's back to normal. He doesn't really care.
This is kind of a tangent, and we're not going to talk about it now, but I feel like we should do a session where we look at I mean, obviously we're talking about Molly and John's relationship, but I feel like it would be good to talk about the different relationships in the group, because I feel like Molly and Apollo's relationship is actually really interesting.
It is, because it is.
Yeah.
But
just in terms of all the different facets to it, but we don't have time to talk about it now. But I just think it's actually really interesting.
I think I agree. It's wonderful to sort of see how each individual member interacts with another one. But honestly, in regards to John and distancing himself from Apollo, you're right. It's something that Apollo did notice, and he was worried about that.
Yeah.
But of course, that makes complete sense. And the funny thing is that John's reasoning for thinking why Apollo should know better completely goes against how Apollo views himself.
That's I can see that. Yeah.
But that's a really interesting point, and I can definitely see why he would feel that way.
There was that because obviously John and Apollo nearly clashed, like really badly when Apollo walked away from the surgery on Molly, the stitching. John was seething. Like if he had rolled anything lower than a 10, a gun would have been drawn at Apollo, because at that moment he was fuming that Apollo had walked away while Molly was bleeding, because he couldn't cope. Obviously, that's how John saw it in that very initial reaction. When John took time, he is under a lot of stress. He was struggling with it. He knew that he didn't want to make it worse. He knew Evelyn was there. He took the time over the rest of the day to see reason, but it was John saw red. Like,
oh, of course, man.
Which you would, I guess, in that, because you panic. And he took that's why at the end of the day, he tried to patch it up with Apollo and just say, listen, you were going through a lot. I don't think walking away is the right thing, but I understand. Blah, 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 blah. And then you wrote that journal. Yeah.
And of course, Apollo was like, I'm not good, no.
Yeah, no, I'm not good. And then you wrote that journal face, clench your door at me. Do you know what I've been through? And I was just like, I wish I could RP reading that journal, because it'd have turned that journal and shoved it up Apollo's ass so far. Going, what, like, really? All right. But it was totally understandable from Apollo as well.
I was
Of
just doing
course.
med RP with popcorn, just like, oh, this is juicy.
Yeah, like John just clenching his jaw. That was it was yeah, that was a thing. But
Oh, of course.
is there anything more you want to say about this? Because I'm conscious that I want to move on to some of the other
Yeah,
bits because I know
that's
we only
okay.
have a little bit of time left before we have to leave, and Flo's just been sat there so patiently, quiet, just listening in. They might have fallen asleep for all I know, but
It's okay. I'm eating mozzarella sticks.
Oh,
that's
nice.
it.
I'm literally
Fair.
sat here listening with food like a cinema.
Well,
Fair enough.
that is fine. Next, we are going to move on to.
Oh dear.
We'll tie it in loosely just to get through it. Which there's Danny Lynch with his bucket helmet on. I'm sorry, but
Yay!
the short life and death of Danny Lynch, like it ties in well. Like I want to, because Danny Lynch was a thing when we last did one of these. He was in the world, but we had some really like cool interactions. Like how much did you, Molly, and then we'll come to you, Apollo, enjoy the Danny Lynch arc?
Oh, I did. I mean, I enjoyed it immensely. I mean, I'm gonna just express all gush for Apollo for a minute here. Yeah, it was brilliant. I had no kind of expectations. I mean, I had kind of ways in which I think it might go, and obviously it didn't go in any of those ways, which was fine and great. But yeah, I mean, I had the bones of a character, and Apollo just took it and ran with it, and it was so great. I mean, so many kind of genuinely heart-pounding moments in server to do with Danny, and not quite finished is what I'll say.
No, there's still things to unpack.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Apollo,
Hmm.
how much did you enjoy your time as Danny Lynch?
I very much enjoyed my
Of
time
course
with
you
Danny
did. You
Lynch.
just got to be an absolute fuckwit for like a couple of months.
Exactly. like 2 months.
Yeah,
And it was amazing.
turn up like
Like-
Wario and cause chaos and leave.
Yeah, it's like
I'm
whenever you're like
going-
causing a bit of trouble.
Can I just say before you finish, my favorite thing that Danny Lynch ever did was the posters.
Yeah, they were
Such a
great.
genius move. A fucking
It was
genius
great.
move. Because Flo got attacked by a fucking bear on the same day. John's trying to put these posters down. Flo becomes Yogi Bear's lunch. Like, and
But like,
Hey, now.
I mean, it was just great how many people. Like, I was getting that. There was one day where the Ara Cohen turned up,
oh, that was
and
bad.
they called me Rose, and
Mhm.
I almost didn't catch it, and I was like, that's not my name. And
That's not
I
my
think someone like two people, Lingo, which is Yoff's alt, telegram saying he'd met Danny or seen a poster and was asking me if I was all right.
Yeah.
So it was just great that kind of really organically she got all these letters and telegrams from people saying, "Is this you? What's going on? You know, who are you?" It was
Yeah.
genius.
It was a lot. And then John having the quite clever idea for John and for me, considering because I'm not that smart, to leave the poster up at Wallace for then Cosmo to come along and just tear it down
Yeah.
and send John a telegram going, "Oh yeah, just tore that poster down for you." So I was just like, "God damn it, Cosmo!"
Oh.
Like,
Tom, mate.
was there a point earlier than when Danny made because I think it naturally was leading towards, we had that conversation outside the house saying the second after we'd already had the first attack, when Danny Lynch was showing his face again saying this can't go on any longer, we have to kind of finish this before someone gets hurt. But was there a point before then, Apollo, where you were thinking I might bring this to a head? Was there a moment where you were contemplating going big, or were you just quite happy playing the long drawn out game?
I was more than happy playing the long drawn out game because I had a formula. And here's my and the thing about the posters was that it occurred to me. At the time, I was playing Apollo, I was playing Miriam, and I was playing Danny. Now, because I was already getting squeezed for time as it was, and because of how my my work schedule
Yeah.
works. For those who don't know in the chat, I work 7 o'clock in the morning till as late as 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So I have to get up early and go to bed early. So I had not counting other things I have to do in the evening. So that leaves approximately 4 to 5 hours to get stuff done,
Yeah.
which is not enough time.
No.
So I thought, how could I create chaos without actually being there?
Mhm.
I know, leave a mark. So that's what the posters were. And because they were such an effective tool, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, I don't think I made it just very clear. The posters began to become more aggressive as time went on. They started listing off more things. They started saying more things. He started sending more telegrams to what he thought was Rose Byrne's PO box.
Did anyone ever get back to you from the posters?
No one ever did.
Good.
That's interesting.
No, but it was very much. A
I
sort
thought
of-
Henry Weston would. I had more than Henry Weston would.
we were convinced Henry Weston would.
But that was my mentality. You get in there and you essentially just go.
It's
You
very
leave
clever.
the impact.
Yeah, of course, Helen
Yeah.
leave as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously, they had their first showdown, let's call it, at Van Horn,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
was tense
was
and a chaotic,
Terrifying. Yeah.
and was quite abrupt at the end. More so on John, admittedly, for John's actions, but
Even then, though, John's because we talked about this a little bit, you and I. John's actions were completely justified, completely. And again, I will say this: his one-liner was amazing. That's a voice I recognize. Recognize this, bitch.
shoot and
I
run.
loved it.
It would have
great.
been
I
much
loved
more
it.
dramatic if it hadn't have taken me 20 minutes of walking around in bushes to try and find you guys. It'd have been much cooler. Like, I did because I watched it back from Molly's stream and Evelyn's, and you can't see John in the bush until he steps up and appears.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it worked really well. Like, and the only
was-
thing that made me find you guys is because obviously Apollo on any character is notoriously loud. So as soon as I got within a 2-mile radius, I could kind of work out where you were. I'm like, oh, okay.
Give me your apples.
Yeah.
Danny. And speaking of which, actually, sorry, John, go on. You were going to say something.
No. I just was talking about that. You go. It's fine.
I was just going to say, one of the reasons why I loved playing Danny was because one of his big inspirations was actually a person that is no longer in server anymore, Jeffrey Crow. He was this very gruff, loud, very one-dimensional sort of villain, and I was like, what? But it was his thing. It was an effective villain. Everybody loved to hate Jeffrey Crow.
Yeah.
Because he was a bit of a dick OOC as well. So I was like, how can I make this without coming across as a dick at OOC? So Danny was loud, he was aggressive, and my microphone was not having a good time at all.
No,
It was
No,
not.
bless you.
But he was a really fun character to play, and the thing about it is that Apollo is quiet angry, whereas Danny was loud angry. So it really got me a chance to play a character I hadn't really played before.
Yeah.
But it was just great fun, and I loved every second of it.
And John got to continue his record of decapitating people. So
Oh yeah.
which was always fun. But yeah, that standoff in the snow was fantastic.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was.
For so many facets, like Molly hog tying John and Evelyn. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
yeah, that was interesting. And then
That was another seriously heart-pounding moment.
Yeah.
Because I knew that if it got to that stage, she would do it. And then you neither of you were coming in the house, and I was like, oh no. I was like, John.
and I was oblivious. I was just wondering, is she gonna give me a pep talk? Is she gonna beg me not to do this? And then wham, tied up on the floor. And then I hear Evelyn kind of just go, Molly, and then bam, bam, gone. And then just Evelyn going, John, I'm tied
And
up.
you didn't roll for it. You
No.
just untied yourself.
Yeah. Do you know what? At
Spoil
that point,
sport. Spoil sport.
looking back, it's the one thing I should have done. Like, but it was
Yeah.
adrenaline, and I was just like,
Yeah.
no, This is not going down this way. Like, it was, I was just like, no. We're not going down this way.
But I still feel like it all came together really, really nicely.
Yeah. Like, though I nearly shot Evelyn in the head. Evelyn was supposed to. We'd had this plan that Evelyn was going to stay on the outskirts through the trees and try and get around near the front in case anyone came that way. John went in, and obviously there was a bit of the gunfight, and then he was around by the church, the derelict church, and he was by the building just in front of that. And then he heard footsteps behind him while Apollo was saying, "You think I'd come here alone?" and all this crap. And then he hears footsteps behind him, and John turns with his gun and just sees the top of Evelyn's head just bobbing along like through the grass, and just like sneaking around the back. I was like, my God, I nearly shot. Like, I was just like, oh God, that would have been bad. But it was such a cool wave. Like, I think Danny Lynch got a good death. He
certainly did.
He got a gunfight. He had the upper hand for a moment, but he was always in a situation where he was always going to be outnumbered. So it was never going to end well for Danny Lynch.
No,
like, so
I think,
which was the cool thing about him. I think he was oblivious.
In the end, oh yeah, he was completely. In the end, Danny Lynch, I think, has a moral to his story. Ambition can only get you so far.
Yeah.
And so can rage and bloodlust.
I think it was. I think John said it to Molly a few times, but then also said it to Danny Lynch as he was carrying the body, along the lines of, he lost because he was angry. Almost like it was like the angers will cause him to make a mistake.
Yep,
like,
exactly was that.
Yeah, it was like that's why John was always said to Molly, I'm not that worried about him, because he'd seen it before, but I obviously didn't know what Apollo was going to do, so that I was worried. I'm like, what the fuck is Apollo going to do? But John was more like, he's an angry man that will make a mistake, because that's all he had done.
Oh yeah, he made mistake after mistake after mistake, and I realized this, which is exactly why for my next villain I really hope I come back swinging.
Oh God. Well,
so excited.
Let's just say there's not a reason. There is a particular reason why Big Shot is now my vocabulary.
Oh no.
No, I'm kidding. But
well,
yeah, he was great character, and I enjoyed playing him. And all of you were fucking phenomenal.
Well, I'm gonna have to move it on quickly because I'm conscious that we have two subjects that are going to quite heavily feature Evelyn, and I know we only have a little bit of time. So
20 minutes.
Yeah. So next we're going to talk about, well, they both really concern Apollo as well. So we're going to talk about Apollo. There we go.
I can't wait to see this scene
What
change.
is this image?
I can't wait.
Apollo, the Russian bachelor.
It's just fun to look
God.
at.
Love it.
Yeah, he's so rich.
Yeah, that part of Apollo's not true, but Apollo may be the poorest man in state, but he's one of the hardest working. But Apollo finds himself as the hot commodity, you know?
Yeah. Flavor of the month.
Yeah.
Oh God.
You know, he's got all that Russian for pushing. He's ready to go.
Russian.
Yeah. But how is
Sorry.
he's laughing at that one a little too hard. So. Take a moment to yourself, Molly.
Oh shit.
Sorry, I can't concentrate now. She's literally
It's
muted
okay.
herself. Paul's now on this path of being able to. He's kind of free of any shackles or anything, and he's obviously had a rough time. Obviously, he had the heart attack, and came back from that, and now finds himself as available, I guess is the word. How is Apollo finding this?
He very much views it as he is enjoying his freedom. Apollo is not what you would say he doesn't actively seek out people to be romantically involved with. To him, he is his own man. He has survived for so long that he doesn't need anybody else to function. Of course, that is a lie, and that's a lie he tells himself constantly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how he feels about it. He has his friends, and that's all he needs.
There's the obvious elephant in the room. The
Mm-hmm.
Maz.
Mars.
Yes. The will they, won't they, probably won't, maybe they will. It's never quite off the table, but where does Apollo see that? Because he obviously thinks very fondly of them. And and I know you've said out of character and in character, because they have a lot of the same views and have been through similar things, and they understand each other. Because they're older than some of the others. Does he want something to happen there, if he's honest with himself?
If he is completely honest with himself, oh dear.
You're getting the gossip now, chat. Everyone listen in. Okay. Someone clip this. Let's go. Send it to Maz.
I'm becoming a fucking smoke machine thinking about this. Now the air smells of blueberry. Right, so Apollo. The thing about Mars and Apollo is that he feels a very big pull toward her. But the thing about Mars that he has to understand, and he does understand, is that despite the fact that they are similar, despite the fact that they understand each other, despite the fact that they do have a certain level of kinsmanship, he knows they're still different. Mars was born into money. Apollo was not. And this is something, and this is a loop I'm back to earlier. Apollo does not view himself as educated. He does not view himself as anything other than just a person who does his job. He is just a cog in a machine, and that's exactly what he knows. That's all he thinks of himself as. He has a very low level of self-esteem. He can fake charisma. He can put on a show. He can put on an act, because he knows socially that's how you manipulate things. You know, if you can present yourself in a certain way and everybody believes that, that's the truth.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Apollo knows how to manipulate people socially, and he knows how to make sure that he doesn't get himself in anybody's crosshairs, which is exactly why he regrets what happened that night with fucking Navy fish.
Yeah.
But with Mars, on the other hand, he does. To your question, he does feel a very big level of attraction to Mars because she is somebody from his own time. Now, that being said, that means that she carries all the flaws of his time with him, but they understand one another. For instance, and I'm not sure if I can say this. Oh yeah, sorry. I'll phrase it this way: Apollo and Mars's conversations touched on some really sensitive topics.
Yeah.
Not just from an IC perspective, but from an OOC perspective. A lot of people forget this, and yes, whilst it is certainly a fictionalized Wild West, everybody seems to forget the fact that things that ran rampant back then, that were socially acceptable back then, they just pretend like they didn't exist. They take like a very big modern approach to a historical era. Now, of course, that just because you are playing in a historical era does not give you the excuse to go around using homophobic, racist, derogatory language. Of course, don't get me confused on that. That shit is not running level.
No.
And similar. So, of course, naturally, Apollo and Mars, that's not something they focus on. Just so we all are very much clear, Apollo and Mars are not fucking racist.
Oh, yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
All right.
but they still very much believe a lot of things from this era, from that period, and a very big element of that period, the core focus is hatred.
Yeah.
A burning hatred to hate the people you are told to hate. Why? Because your father hated them, because your mother hated them, because your great-grandparents hated them, because your great-great-parents hated them. Why should you hate this person? Because your country told you to. Your country told you to, and you have an obligation to your country. That, I think, is a huge part of Mars and Apollo.
Interesting.
For instance, when they're both younger, they had a huge disposition to a certain kind of nationality. Apollo's case, it was the Poles. It was the Poles. And I'm not going to say what Mars's was because that's for Mars to say. But Mars was of a similar opinion, and that's what they bonded over. They bonded over the fact that what they felt was real, and their emotions still ultimately do matter.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people dismiss them. They weren't real, or you felt was hatred. You know, and the fun thing about them as well is that Apollo and Mars can very much dip their toes into sort of back in my day, while also trying to maintain a very serious conversation.
I'm interested to see where it goes with Apollo and Maz, or Apollo and anyone, really.
Oh, so am I.
Just to,
It is.
is there any questions about this quickly? Because I know we've got 10 minutes and I want to speak about Miriam
Yeah.
because that affects Evelyn quite a lot. And do we have any more questions about Bachelor Apollo before I shuffle it along?
Hello.
Many, but they'll keep.
Ah!
You can ask one. Ask
me
one.
one. Give me
Ask
one.
one. Ask
No,
the one.
no,
Ask
no.
one. Ask
No,
one.
no,
Ask
no,
one.
no.
Ask one. Ask one. Ask one.
No,
Ask one. Ask one. No one else speak until Molly says one.
No. Miriam. I love Miriam.
Give. Question. Пожалуйста.
One question. Go.
S'il vous plaît.
I wasted 10 minutes.
Oh my god.
I think you're all
Yeah, me-
underestimating how stubborn she is.
We're not
Can
going
you
to
give
get
me the
any
question?
questions.
Thank you, Flo.
Fine. Okay. All right. We will move on to Miriam.
I'm very curious to your next images. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. These are hilarious.
Oh,
Miriam
dear, I love
rises. Wow, the character of Miriam has become,
I love Miriam.
yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
Evelyn and Apollo. Evelyn and John had a really interesting conversation about Miriam yesterday, about how he sees Miriam as kind of a lesson in life, that what can start as something can take such a drastic turn and become something totally different that you would never expect. Like, John and Miriam's first interactions were not good.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the angriest John had ever been in the state at that point was with Miriam. And to see where they are now, where John genuinely adores when Miriam's around, to see that comical side, the banter, like when John came back for the day and told Miriam to get her sweet ass downstairs, and to see Miriam blink, as Paula likes to write so
That's
often.
hilarious. Yeah.
Like, it must.
I love
Yeah.
Molly. Molly loves Miriam. 100%.
Is my ass really that sweet?
I mean,
Yes.
that's what pickle do for you, I guess. But
I suppose so.
I love it.
Does
with
my ass look fat in this?
Oh.
but
Sorry, continue.
how is the Evelyn and Miriam? This is going to Evelyn because I haven't really come to you for something in a little while. The bond that they have, where is that for Evelyn at the moment? Where does she? How would she explain the relationship between Miriam and Evelyn?
She would probably say that Miriam's special to her.
Yeah.
Oh.
No,
more than that, please. Let's delve deeper.
Miriam is a close friend. She's like a comforting presence.
She's like a scary
Um,
comfort blanket.
She's not
She's like a
scary.
Halloween themed comfort blanket.
She's not scary.
No, Miriam's not
Miriam.
scary. Yeah.
She isn't that scary.
No,
Not
she
unless you want me to be.
Yes, please.
That's true.
More of this, yeah.
Yes.
Please.
Can we get back on track, please? We have 8 minutes, to round this up. Let's go. Carry on, Evelyn. Sorry for
Yes.
these two children.
No,
Mein
that's
Gott.
they're very close, but it's not. I won't say it's not romantic because there's a little bit of that there, but it's very
Gentle.
subdued, maybe.
Okay.
And of course, Miriam's not around much, so it's kind of rough on Evelyn because she doesn't get to see her, so there's not a lot of interaction.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. Apollo, do you find it hard being Miriam sometimes because of the lack of time that you can actually spend on Miriam?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Miriam is not a hard character. Well, her voice is fun to do, but it's also very much. There's two elements to her that I find complicated to do. That is her socially, and that is what she can and cannot say that is in line with the character. For instance, Miriam has gone through a bit of an arc where she has adored Eveline, resented Eveline, and adored her again. And in doing so, with her slowly coming back to her to health, she has developed a certain level of confidence that she did not have. And her trying to navigate certain social situations is entirely her guessing because she's been so isolated. But she does. I think she tries. She. It's really hard because on one hand, it's very hard not to try and tap into Apollo while playing with her, but on the other hand, I can't have her not say anything at all. So I sort of have these moments where her confidence flares and she says something that is, what's the word? And she says something that is a bit more confident. Again, for instance, if somebody was to turn around and said, "Get your sweet ass down here," she'd say, "I don't get it. Is my ass really that sweet?" Like, there'd be things that she would say like that, and there'd be other times where she would be openly fucking with them. For instance, again, she would turn around and say, "That was a joke. I'm joking." And then there's also the some underlying stuff that I'm not sure I can get into.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, I think I'm going to be making more of an effort to play as her more because it's
Good.
true. No, not because you guys told me to or because I think you want me to. It's because I would genuinely do want to. I
Yeah.
mean, I didn't get her fucking gun customized for no reason. Or put a brick through Alexander Crane's window for no reason either. Again, that's what I mean. She has this certain level of aggressive confidence. I mean, the woman's been shot. Hold on. She's been
I
shot.
love that Halloween thing we did. That was really
No,
funny.
it's really-
Oh yeah, that's fun.
And I think that's what I mean. Miriam is just sort of guessing. She's like, "Is this funny? You were doing this, so I will assume that this is funny." And she herself
Oh.
finds it's funny to a certain degree too.
I love Miriam. I think this is a
Mhm.
good character. I want to ask a quick question before we finish, and I want to put you all on the spot. So I don't want to leave enough time
Okay.
because we have 6 minutes. So
Yep.
okay. So in the last few months, so you don't have to go too far back. I'm going to start with you first, Apollo. So I apologize. So other people will get a chance to think. What has been your favorite moment in State? Either it's something that you really enjoyed, or just a moment that made you happy, or a really juicy bit of something. Which moment stands out to you as something that I really enjoyed that?
Oh shit!
It's going to be the same question for everyone, including
Oh,
Flo.
God.
So
I've been here for I've been here for a year. Okay.
no, I mean in the last couple of months. So since Evelyn's returned, because that's kind of where we're
Okay.
taking this from. So
Okay. I think my favorite moment from the last few months.
Tough.
Mm-hmm.
Does
think
anyone
my
have an
favourite-
answer? Because I can come to them and come back to other people if you don't have one, Apollo. But if you do, let's stick with you.
I
Time
have
thief
one.
pirates.
Oh,
Time thief pirates.
what you did with Bad Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the time thief. God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's also another. There's a close second one,
Mhm.
and that's when Apollo got his neck slashed.
Mm.
Really?
Such a
Yeah.
happy time.
And as Miriam, it was the time when she and Evelyn reunited.
Aw.
That was kind of awesome.
It was awesome.
The favorite thing about Apollo having his neck slashed is when he punched John by mistake. Still,
Oh, yeah, he
still,
did, didn't he?
still makes me howl. Anyway, have to move on to the next person because we're running out of time. Does anyone else have one? Evelyn, yours was the time thief pirates.
Yep.
Flo?
Yep.
I think probably when Molly and John and Flo went out to, is it Armadillo?
Oh, for the horses?
Yeah, and they had that medical call that Flo had to lead.
Oh yeah.
And he
Um,
robbed me the
Ooh.
next day. Yeah.
Yeah. I think just because that was like a big step forward for her in leading
Oh, we
like
were
medical
so
things like
proud.
that.
Yeah. We were just sat there like proud
Aw.
parents.
While dropping some major lore as well,
Yeah.
like in the background, having a proper heart to heart while watching Flo just save this prisoner's life. That was really cool.
Yeah.
Molly?
Oh god, there's so many and for so many different reasons. I think out of character, I was really touched by the engagement party. That well, just I mean, obviously, I love that everyone who I usually spend time with was there, like Apollo, Evelyn, Sal, Marla, everyone. But the fact that people like Kowalski and Hannah and Jonathan and Henrietta and people who I don't usually see on a day-to-day basis have taken the time to come. I thought that was really sweet. Yeah, I mean the whole Danny Lynch stuff, that was terrifying.
I can see you, Rose.
It was genuinely terrifying.
Good.
Yeah, God, so many good moments. For different reasons.
And there is one last one I'd like to add on to mine.
Sure, go for it.
Apollo and Mars's very first conversation has really stuck with me.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Just some of
I genuinely loved
topics.
that campfire chat the other day. I thought that was a really good night.
Or the one with where they butted heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was cool. That one.
Yeah.
Juicy
Because-
roleplay.
Because I love the little bit with bit between Molly and Apollo when they were fighting as well. That was the same night.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
That was. You lot should have heard Apollo's laugh when Molly.
I did.
Because Apollo.
It was very good.
It was great. Yeah, she was not kidding, and neither was Apollo. And I feel like it was just like pulling the veil back on both of them a little bit. They allowed
'Cause it
themselves to
was.
be a bit, yeah.
Molly
something a bit different.
Molly brought out the monster that she became after she ran away, and Apollo tapped into his days as a soldier. Well,
Mm.
an interrogator.
It was very
Yeah.
good. It was
I
very
should
good.
say. It was amazing.
All right, guys. Oh, look at this. We
All right.
made it. And
On
we're
time.
On time.
Woo!
Thanks to everyone who's watched and stuck with it, and thank you to Apollo for his words of wisdom and his many characters, and most of this being about him, because he has so many different elements. But thank you,
I'm
Apollo.
sorry.
No, don't
I'm
say
sorry.
Apollo. The reason we have all these elements is because you do so much.
Yeah.
Thank you to Evelyn for always being the level-headed, like anchor
Best.
to the group.
Level-headed, falling apart inside.
Yeah, you keep it all internal, which is really good. Your journal isn't depressing as hell. We don't talk about that. Thank you to Flo for being here and eating mozzarella sticks.
You're very welcome.
You're very welcome. And I would like to go on record and say how much, like, I think all of us adore when Flo is around.
Yes.
Man.
Yes.
And
Agree.
Great.
I've said to Flo out of character, I see that as John's anchor in a way. When he's getting too angry and Flo's there, he realizes that he doesn't have to be as much because Flo is just.
Please spend more time with us, Flo. We love you.
Yeah, we love you. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
That'd
you,
be
Molly.
good too.
Thank you to Molly because she's all right as well. All right.
Oh.
Yeah, Evelyn's had to drop out.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She has something to do. But yeah,
She does.
thank you to everyone for being here. We're now going to jump in and actually play these characters. Well, most of us are.
Oh, did I not?
And
I didn't get a shout out. Where's my shout out?
I did. I said
Molly,
thank you. Molly
you
is okay.
are-
I said, but
Oh,
isn't that what you
oh,
said?
great.
Isn't that what you said? You
It
know,
was-
RP appreciation. You're all right.
You started this because whenever Evelyn asked you about Molly, you'd say she's all right. So I'm just
All right.
continuing
Thank you.
parroting back what you said.
Thank you to Molly for being the linchpin in John at the moment. And
Thanks.
John, thank you for being a wonderful host tonight. Thank you for
Yeah,
organizing
thank you.
these. It is
Guys.
amazing to talk about these characters and to hear talk about them. And that being said, it's also amazing to see the nuances of John come to light, and open up and have him open up to characters, and in general have him expand his horizons with Molly. And whilst on that notice, Molly, you are a phenomenal role player as well. I love the little interactions that Apollo and Molly get. A matter of fact, actually, for both of you, I really want Apollo to interact with you two more, because I miss you guys, and you, Flo. I miss you as well. You are, all three of you, including Evelyn, even though she's not here, are phenomenal fucking role players, and I could not ask for a better crowd. Thank
Yeah,
you
right.
all.
Right back at you.
oh, well, isn't that a lovely way of ending? And yeah, John's
Yeah.
only what he is because of the people who he's around. So, and that's the truth. He would have left a long time ago. So yeah.
I love all three of you guys. You three, you four are fucking amazing.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're now going to be jumping in as some of those characters. So
I'm now going
Let's
to go and
hope-
vomit. Have a nice night, everybody.
Yep.
thank you to everyone for joining, and we'll catch you all next time, probably in about 3 or 4 months when we're all dead.
Yeah.
All right.